What's going on there, guys? Good evening, good Saturday evening. It is the Earthmaster here on the live stream with an update video on this beautiful, warm Saturday night, May 21st, 2022 date. It's about 8:13 p.m. California time. Latest quake shows a 1.2 earthquake and a 1.6 here. Looks like 1.2 up into the Alaska region right now. 1.6 over here. In that area of the world. Let's go ahead and check out the latest movement here from the USGS map, showing the activity kicking off here over the last 24 hours, including a 6.1 earthquake just west of Manila, the Philippines there, the capital. Pretty strong earthquake, but luckily and fortunate, these guys were pretty deep earthquake here, 129 kilometers deep for a 6.1, so less damage than a much shallower earthquake would produce for this area. It struck here just around this area here on the map. Far as felt reports, it looks like it did kick up into the yellow pager report. It is in a major seismic area of deep movement, so not a strange earthquake, not an odd earthquake at all, as you can see here listed on the map. Definitely a seismically hazardous area in terms of deep movement here, with the gray and the darker gray circles in that region. No aftershocks to report currently from that 6.1. Of course, all this activity comes after quite a bit of movement way up here on the northern end of the globe, or the flat scale map, however you want to look at it. Started to see a lot of movement here on the North American side of the plate boundary, between the Eurasian plate here to the east and the North American plate here to the west. Got that center there piece, plate boundary kind of spreading apart, divergent plate boundary. Ultimately, I believe that kind of plays a pressure gradient towards the west. General movement here in terms of activity does show that North American plate movement here typically to the west, up here around this region. Therefore, we did see some activity kick up, no doubt, here much further away from, obviously, this area north of Greenland. But it all does play a part, folks. You kind of mix and mingle with a little piece up here. I shouldn't say a little piece, but a large piece of a plate boundary. Kind of shuffles around, right? You get that little pressure gradient much further to the west. You know, we're pretty much ants. We're just a bunch of ants compared to these plate tectonics. But they all kind of move around, and they will move around accordingly and adjust accordingly to each earthquake that does occur, regardless of where it's at out here. It's a major connected movement out here with all these earthquakes going on. So no aftershock sequence following that earthquake there earlier today. I was at the I was at a county fair earlier today when that earthquake struck, so I couldn't get on for an update, and I'm still a little bit shooken up from all the rides earlier. My stomach does not do well with those crazy rides anymore. Not like I used to be when I was much younger. I rode on quite a few of them, except for the zipper. By the time I got to the zipper, I was like, I can't do it anymore. I cannot do it. But I did ride, I think it's called Freak Out or something like that. Pretty scary ride. It does add quite a few G's onto the physical body, and it did not agree well with my stomach. So anyway, return of deep earthquake movement here along the Fiji Islands area into the Tonga Trench, Kermadec Trench area. Look at these depths here. We're getting that movement once again. 584 kilometers for the latest earthquake there. 4.7 in that zone that we always watch here for the deepest earthquake movement here on Earth. Always tends to happen here within this area. So expect, it's kind of like a recycle progress here, if you will. We always see this deep earthquake activity kick up here, and a return of surface pressure here along the Kermadec Trench southward into the New Zealand area, and also general plate movement here to the west. Once again, looking at this area here, you got these subduction zones here along the Vanuatu area and areas around the Indonesia region. Always seeing some activity following this deep earthquake activity. Here's the subduction zone here of the Hikurangi subduction zone there on the North Island of New Zealand. So I expect here with these 3 earthquakes and no shallow movement around the area to see some activity definitely kick up here southward very soon following that movement. We have not seen anything new following the latest quake here, the 4.7. That's the latest one here. All this other earthquake activity here is from earlier this afternoon, including that 6.1. But expect some amplification here of magnitudes very soon. The northwestern portion of the plate should definitely be on watch as well. It's been all too quiet here now for the past 2 days with deep movement. Ultimately, this whole Pacific plate as a whole will be making some major adjustment up here pretty soon along the Mariana Trench and the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench in that area. For the Aleutian Trench, let's go to the all magnitudes here and see. Man, are you kidding me? 1 earthquake for the all magnitudes. That's a little on the odd side here for the Alaska region along the Aleutian Trench. That's not normal. Definitely not normal here. So definitely very quiet throughout the Aleutian Trench. We got 1 measly 3.1 around the King Cove, Alaska area. And that was, looks like earlier this afternoon time frame. Nothing since then. Hawaii has been kind of squeezing out there in the middle between all this activity. Seen a pretty good uptick in activity around the southeastern portion of the Big Island. It looks like things kind of tapering off here around Mauna Loa and the Kilauea volcano. Not a whole lot of swarming going on up there at those 2 volcanoes currently. Most of the activity here around the southeastern region. And let's see what else we got. Still kind of recovering, folks, from well, not only being sick, but also being thrown around like a rag doll in some of those rides there at the fair. They're absolutely crazy. Let's see. What do we got? We did have 1 earthquake here at the very end of the Blanco fracture zone and the Gorda ridges right here in this plate boundary. Kind of right there where those 2 meet, a 2.8. About 10 kilometer depth there. It's kind of default for that type of earthquake out there in the ocean. And 1 earthquake here in Northern California area. This was from the time frame of last night, late last night, into the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. Since then, aside from that, not a whole lot of activity in the Pacific Northwest. Let's go ahead and check out the raw data. Raw data does have a lot to point out, right? Holy smokes. That's a pretty significant uptick in tremor here southeast or southwest of Seattle. That's a major movement. 478 epicenters of tremor tonight, 1 day. And notice that's still combining the entire length of the Cascadia subduction zone from Northern California all the way up to the Vancouver Island ranges. I think that's a pretty awesome sign of possibly something brewing here along the Cascadia. I want to go back here over the last, let's go ahead and kick this up since then, maybe a week and a half, 2 week time frame, and see what we got for the total tally, which is pretty impressive here along the Cascadia. 3,442 epicenters, which is tremor, not earthquakes. They're kind of like slow vibrations, if you will, between the plates here, the plate system, the subduction zone. But ultimately, where's the pressure going if you think about it? If you got vibration and slippage, if you will, this is kind of called slippage, between these, the plate boundaries here, the subduction zone, is it just kind of like going nowhere? Is the pressure going nowhere? Obviously not. We're getting the Juan de Fuca plate and the Explorer plate up here, the Gorda plate, all subducting underneath the North American plate, and it's going down. It's definitely going further down, down, and down but we're also looking at further stress and buildup along this major subduction zone called the Cascadia. That's a pretty impressive number here for just a week and a half time frame. Over 3,000 epicenters. That's pretty crazy, folks. So, and it's not just in one area. It's almost on the entire length. Go ahead and check out Earthquakes Canada here while we're on it. We'll see if these guys are reporting any activity. I don't see anything here in terms of plate movement here along the northern end of the Cascadia. Sometimes these folks will be showing activity that the USGS is not. But they're only showing one earthquake out here around the Ontario area. Looks like a 2.7 near Wonneman. Is that right? Wonneman, Ontario? All right. I'm not going to skip any pronunciations from here on out. So slaughter me at will. That's the only earthquake here being reported. And that's the latest there on the map from the Earthquakes Canada, folks. All right, so moving on, let's go ahead and check out, though. I want to check out the volcanoes in the Pacific Northwest because they've been pretty active. And I think in terms of activity, when we see tremor activity kick up, we should see movement at the volcanoes kick up as well. Let's go ahead and check out Mount St Helens. Let's see what these guys have for the volcanic seismogram here. Obviously, still some activity. This is over the last couple hours, a UTC date here of May 22nd. This is the current time in UTC time and localized time here. So definitely some earthquake activity still continuing, but I want to check out during the afternoon time period. We'll see what it has on the map or on the graph here. So there is the S waves from the 6.9 that kicked off there in the where was it? I forgot. Yesterday or the day before. I think yesterday. 6.9 in the southwestern portion of the Pacific, right? Since then, look at this. That's a pretty good actually that there, you know what, guys? That is the 5.8. I take that back. I'm kind of getting these earthquakes a little mixed up a little bit, but that was the 5.8 that struck up in the Greenland area early morning hours. That's right. If we go back before that, the previous day, where's that 6.9? I know it's in here somewhere. There we go. That was the 6.9 that struck there a couple days ago, well south of New Zealand. So today's time frame, definitely seeing some localized earthquake activity, and that's, I don't have to point that out, guys. Everyone knows what earthquake activity looks like on a seismograph. That is indeed earthquake activity. It's not volcanic tremor. If it is volcanic tremor, I would be pointing that out, but it's not. It's just general earthquake activity there at Mount St Helens throughout the day and up into this hour. Let's go ahead and check out Three Sisters since I was on there. I don't think we have too much activity going on. Some of this activity comes in kind of odd as far as the reading goes, like this. It's, I don't know why it's in that type of scenario. But there's the S wave, pretty spectacular. And this right here gives me a good impression that the seismograph station here at the Three Sisters area, Volcanoes in Oregon, are working properly and efficiently to pick up those S waves. So notice no earthquake activity whatsoever there around the Three Sisters. So just kind of pointing that out. But man, is that beautiful. Look at that. Frequencies and waves traveling through the earth. Vibrations, if you will. All right, guys, let's see what else we got here. California area. Bay Area, fairly quiet. Eastern part of the Sierra Nevada, a little activity. We had a 3.4. This is south of Long Valley Supervolcano near Tom's Place at 5.3 kilometers. Not anything really to write home about. No swarming to report following this 3.4, but it's something to watch. as a sign of increase here along the western coast. Ridgecrest area, typical movement around the fracture area along the airport lake fault zone from the 2019 earthquakes there back in early July. Got some movement up here around the San Andreas fault zone as well earlier. A couple of small microquakes up and down the San Jacinto fault zone, but no major swarming activity to report in the Southern California area. Yellowstone National Park, let's go ahead and check them out here real quick. And let's see here, a little activity here around the eastern. Actually, this looks kind of like it's a 5.8 that got picked up earlier in the north of the Greenland area. Notice the S waves. I believe that's right. Let me double check and verify. I do like to do some double checking just to make sure we're on the right page. 5.8 struck here at 0701 UTC time. So we check out the 0701 UTC time. Notice it's 0730. So that is the 5.8 that got picked up here on the graph up in the Greenland area. It's pretty well amplified seismograph station here monitoring the activity. It actually picked up, kind of looks like the P waves in a way, and then some S waves kicking up, and there was a 5.5 in there as well. Some localized earthquake activity around the park there at Yellowstone, but nothing spectacular going on that I can see. Some interference, it looks like, over here around the southeastern portion of the park. Notice this activity is not being picked up here by the Parker Peak Station. And in fact, if you look at the east entrance here, it didn't even pick up the 5.8 or any of the S waves. So I'm not for sure what's going on here, but it looks like some interference around the east entrance there of Yellowstone National Park. There's the 5.8, followed up by some S waves, and there's a 5.5. As far as localized earthquake activity here, looks like we got a couple small microquakes around the area of Yellowstone National Park, but other than that, folks, no doom and gloom tonight. Sorry to bring the good news to you. Checking out the Oklahoma area. I've seen a couple posts earlier saying that, man, we got earthquake activity kicking up here in Oklahoma and Texas. We've had 7 earthquakes in the past 24 hours. Can't remember, and I'm not going to say the name of the person that said that, but earthquake activity, if you follow this channel, you'll know earthquake activity throughout Oklahoma and Texas is very common. Do you guys want to see? Last 30 days of activity. There we go. No doom and gloom here, folks. Just typical earthquake activity here in Oklahoma. Some of it is fault related, earthquake plate tectonic related. Some of it, of course, is gas and oil fields. I mean, we don't have to go too far in to see that there's oil fields all over Oklahoma, all throughout Texas, western Texas as well. So, but I just kind of thought it was weird that somebody would throw out a little doom and gloom. Oh my God, 7 earthquakes in Oklahoma and Texas over the last 24 hours. Okay, well, yeah, that happens. Goodness. Eastern part of the country, pretty quiet, folks. Not a whole lot going on. The Puerto Rico Trench region, though, something to watch. This area has been seeing a little swarm of activity, and it's kind of migrating in a northward fashion, northeastward fashion here over the last 24 hours. The largest quake so far, a 4.8. So in terms like this is something that you have to watch. This is not normal. We don't see typical earthquake activity within this region of the Puerto Rico Trench. And in the terms of magnitude, we haven't really seen a main quake yet. We've seen a 4.7, a 4.1, 3.9, and now a 4.8. So this here, not doom and gloom, but it's something to watch in terms of this type of earthquake fashion. We normally see a couple minor to moderate earthquakes and then possibly something bigger. So we do have to watch this area of the Puerto Rico Trench pretty closely. And we'll see how it goes. Southwestern portion of Puerto Rico, still typical swarming going on. Little activity here migrating to the Mona Passage area with a 2.9, the latest quake there on the globe. South America area, some of this earthquake activity from this morning, actually most of it is along the Peru-Chile Trench. Not a significant amount of earthquake activity right now. Throughout the Java Trench, we did see some movement. Earlier, prior to the 6.1, all this activity older, so no subsequent movement taking place here. But got to remember, with this deeper earthquake activity here to the southeast in the deep trenches, ultimately adding and moving this western, moving the Pacific Plate westward, a couple areas to definitely watch up here in this area pretty closely. New Zealand northward, Vanuatu, Mariana Trench, and the Kuril Kamchatka and Japan Trench pretty closely there, folks. Let's see what else we got. Checking out space weather as we go on. Pretty steady as she goes. Not a whole lot going on in terms of flaring. As massive as the sunspot is, 3014. We've seen this a couple weeks ago. A couple large sunspots here, even bigger than this. Kind of just floated across the area, the disk of the sun, and barely produced a spark. And just, you know, pretty much provided some photogenic opportunities there for solar photographers, but nothing in terms of major solar activity. The dynamics, I guess, are just not there currently with 3014. In fact, these guys only predicting or forecasting 99% chance of a C flare, 40% chance M, and an X flare at 5% chance. So we did see a little amplification here into the KP index range around 4. It did kick up a little bit of geomagnetic storming with the higher latitudes there, possibly seen after dark, of course. Some auroras there at the higher latitudes once again. So aside from that, folks, we'll just see how it goes. Sunspot activity is definitely impressive, but in terms of flaring activity, I get it's just not there currently. All right, guys, have a good night. Saturday night, stay safe out there. Please, you know, definitely have an earthquake plan and keep your items stocked up as far as, you know, priority items, foods, and toiletry items and whatnot. We got a pretty good earthquake showing up there on the Japan station. You guys see that? Showing up right there. Let's go ahead and see if the EMSC model is picking that up real quick. Just coming in here to the seismographs. Sometimes it takes the EMSC a little bit of time to show that earthquake from the live seismographs, so we're not picking it up yet. But in terms of hold on a second here. In terms of magnitude, it doesn't look super impressive, but it does look localized to the Japan area, kind of just what I was pointing towards you guys, as far as activity ramping up. Looks like there was a wow, did that earthquake just come in there, the 5.5? Kind of looks like that is the most recent earthquake, because it wasn't there a little bit ago. Go ahead and double check this, make sure. Yeah, so 5.5 kicking up in that area. I was just telling you guys to watch. It's like bada boom, bada bang, speak into existence. But if you kind of watch where these plates go, and general plate movement with this deep earthquake activity kind of gives you the X marks the spot region. So 5.5 right now in our area that we were just chatting about off the coast of Japan. Not a big earthquake, but definitely sign of some buildup, obviously, from all this deep movement we've seen from the southeast. All right, guys, have a good night. Stay safe. We didn't get to do a question and answer show tonight, but we'll probably maybe do that tomorrow. Missy Mimi's got some obligations going on tonight, so I expect her to stick to those, and we'll do that probably tomorrow sometime. So in the meantime, have a good night, folks. Stay safe out there, and man, hopefully my voice will be better tomorrow. Peace out, guys.